Hello everyone, welcome to episode 3 of From My RPG Library, the show where I grab a book off of my RPG library and give you my thoughts on it. This week, we're going to take a look at the supplement for Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes. Now, don't let the title of this book confuse you, as it's not a massive tome of ne'er-do-wells in the D&D universe. Instead, this is a collection of great conflicts and their participants in the multiverse, for example, the blood war between devils and demons. What I like about this book is it is presented in a way that makes me feel like I'm actually kind of sneaking into Mordenkainen, the great mage's library, and looking at some of his collected works. It's not written in first person, it's not Mordenkainen telling the story. However, you do get the feeling that this is more than just a rule book, so to speak. So I thought they did a great job about that. So what is in the book? Well, the Tome of Foes there's an extensive section on the Blood War, which is the war that is fought between devils and demons. It does a great job of giving DMs details about the different planes of hell and the devils that run each plane, because there is a devil that is in charge of each plane. I especially like, let me backtrack here. Asmodeus is the main devil on the 9th plane of hell. He is kind of in charge of hell. And there's a huge section there's a section on his trial. See, the angels put Asmodeus on trial because they said he was just evil and a liar and all this stuff. Well, Asmodeus is lawful evil. Anyway, they have this neat trial with Asmodeus, and it went on for a long time, and he ends up kind of winning. So it's really interesting, and I really enjoyed that part. There's also a great section for customizing a devil for DMs to bring into their campaign. There's a chart that you can roll on. This would have been especially handy for my personal homebrew campaign, where I actually had my characters going into one of the planes of hell to rescue one of their friends. So I thought this was really neat, and this is a really great way for DMs to look at how to make different devils. They do the same thing for demons. There's a great section on demons and the different demon lords and such, which is great because, again, it allows you as the DM to create these demons, your own spin on demons. You can either roll or just pick things from the chart and have these really neat creatures that your party can fight, something that they're not going to find in the monster manual. There's also a great section on demonic cults, which is a great way you could create a whole campaign based around your characters trying to stop this demonic cult from bringing this evil into the world, and maybe have the ultimate fight be this demon that you've created. So you can create the cult and then create the demon, which I think is really neat. There is a section on elves, and I know when this book came out, there was a whole lot of talk about how this should have been called Mordenkainen's Guide to Elves. And I don't know. I don't see it. And maybe I'm wrong. I thought the section of elves was very detailed, and it gave us a neat look at how they age, how their reverie works, how their remembrance time works, and even a bit of elven outlook. It does go into the creation of elves with Corellin, and how Corellin and Grumpsh, the great orc god, fought, and Corellin was wounded by Grumpsh, and the blood that came out of that wound are what the primal elves sprung from. In fact, in that fight, Grumpsh lost his eye, so that's why he's the god with one eye. It does go into detail about the primal elves and how Corellin saw a uniqueness in each of them, and those that he found the most unique, she found the most unique. Corellin gave them names, which created the elven pantheon, which I thought was really neat. Then there is one elf who is part of that pantheon who decides that she wants to be more unique. She wants to be risen above her status. And eventually she breaks away from it, and her name is Lolth, which, if you know your drow history, that is the drow spider queen. And thus the dark elf are born. It does go into Eladrin, it does go into sea elves, and the Shadarkai, which are a subrace of elf, which are more aligned with the Raven Queen. And then, of course, there's charts and stuff for people to create and roll up different elves. Now, as a dwarf, probably in real life, when I had a beard, but as dwarves are my favorite fantasy race to play. I play one in our D&D campaign. I played one in our first D&D campaign. I've played a lot of dwarves. In fact, it's one of my favorite characters in my World of Warcraft. Mordenkainen goes deep into dwarves, which I think is great. It talks about how they are formed from Moradin, how they are created. It gives you a great breakdown of the dwarven pantheon. Talks about how dwarves are very purpose-driven, how they need to have, this a goal. They're very meticulous. And usually a dwarven adventurer is someone who's kind of broken away from the clan itself and gone off to do other things. And usually they come back to create something. Most dwarves have some sort of artifact, some great piece that they create, be it through crafting or other means, in their lifetime. And they all kind of seek that. It does talk about the different dwarves in Owerth and in Toril, and even in Kryn. Well, mostly you're dealing with hill and mountain dwarves. It does go into the Duergar, who are the dark dwarves, the dwarves who live underground, who are, generally speaking, evil dwarves. It talks about the conflict between the different dwarves, which is your foes in this case. It does even mention the gully dwarves, which I thought was really good. I'm not a particular fan of gully dwarves, but it is good to see them getting some mention. It goes into the Gith. It talks about them and their issues and like some of the struggles or some of the wars and conflicts between dwarves and them, and the mind flayers, and their and even the drow. There's a great section on gnomes and halflings. These are, typically speaking, some pretty happy-go-lucky characters, and I thought it was interesting that they're included here. I've played halflings. Again, they're another race that I really like. Maybe it's because I'm short. I don't know. I seem to play these short characters. I rarely play an elf. I like elves. I just rarely play them. Anyway, it does go into halflings and talks about their luck. Just how you see the mountain come down, and yet that halfling is able to somehow manage to get his or her butt out of there in time, or crawl out from underneath the rubble and be completely unscathed. I can't think of halflings without thinking of Kinders, and thinking of Tasselhoff Burfoot, who is my favorite Kinder, probably everybody's favorite Kinder, because Tass is the most famous Kinder, and just thinking about Tass's luck. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, my very first D&D character may have been a halfling / Kinder. I'm not positive. That's very possible. That was a long time ago. And again, you have more charts and stuff to roll on, and different pantheons. And that's one of the things I really liked about this book, is it really breaks down the pantheons for these different races. Shows you, like, if you're creating like a dwarven paladin and you're not sure what your god's name is, maybe you want to talk about your god a lot. And in fact, I had a dwarf character, a dwarf cleric, who I was playing it, and I know this is, people probably throw a fit. This is when we were first starting to play D&D again. I just had a character there. I was the DM, but I had a character just there, and I never wanted the character to make any decisions or really be involved, so I always said, my character's over here preaching the good word of Silverbeard, who is one of the dwarven gods. This became a thing within our campaign. Eventually, after I got used to DMing again and the players got used to playing again, I kind of shelved the character and just made him an NPC. Well, then the other players began picking up Silverbeard. One of them was a bard who drew influence from the stories of Silverbeard, and we started creating all sorts of different stories and stuff about Silverbeard, which was a lot of fun. So it gives you that option, and that's in all, for the different races, which I think is really fantastic. There is the bestiary, and the bestiary is great, especially for the devils and demons. I know I did, during our homebrew campaign, did grab the book because I knew there was a section on devils, and I did have a couple of devils that my characters could fight, or that my players could fight, and I thought that was a great thing to look at. This book is great. It genuinely is. Don't let the title deceive you, because it does sound like it's just going to be this big book of evil people, and it's not. It does, go into some of these different wars, like I said. And it does give you a little bit of history about the different races, the elves, the dwarves, the Gith, the gnomes and the halflings, and even the devils and demons, which I like. I like lore. I like reading about the different things and knowing. I don't just want to chuck dice. I want to know. And this book is definitely more up my alley than some of the other ones because, again, it felt like I got this out of Mordenkainen's library and was actually reading through it. Volos is written very similar to this, and I thought Wizards of the Coast did a great job with this book. Is this a necessary book to purchase as a DM? Nope, absolutely not. Is it a great addition to your D&D source books? Yes, hands down, great addition. Especially with, if you're players who want to take a deeper dive into their characters and want to learn more about elves and dwarves and such. This would be a great addition and something great that, a resource that you can provide for them. I enjoyed it. I think it's a good book to have. I purchased the special cover, which in my opinion, D&D's done a couple of these. They have one for Xanathar's, one for Volos, and one for Mordenkainen's. I liked Volos. I have Volos. It was actually a gift. Actually, my Volos was signed by Rudy Rutenberg, Chris Perkins, Satine Phoenix, some other folks that my friend Cody had taken to PAX West. And he actually had a chance to sit in the bar and play D&D with Rudy and Satine and a couple other folks. And he took my Volos around and had some people sign it for me, which I thought was really nice. Thanks, Cody. And then there's Xanathar's, which I love Beholders. I didn't like this cover, so I don't own that one. Mordenkainen's happens to be my favorite cover. I think it looks fantastic, and I'll make sure to post a picture of that in the show notes here. The other one that they're doing a special cover of is Saltmarsh. So it goes to Saltmarsh, the new book that comes out May 21st. So make sure you take a look at that if that's something you want to add to your D&D collection. Anyway, I've kind of gone off topic here, so let's get back to Mordenkainen. So yeah, those are my thoughts on it. I think it's a great book, and I think it'd be a great resource for any DM to have, and even a great resource for any player to have. I mean, aside from the bestiary, you're not going to get any sort of out-of-game knowledge that's going to be detrimental to your game. So pick it up. It's worth owning, and give it a good read. Anyway, that's it for this week, folks. Not sure what I'm doing next week, but I will let you know. Thanks for listening. We'll catch you next time.